Number 4. On a particular college campus, 20% of the students belong to a fraternity or sorority. If 50 college students are randomly chosen, what is the probability that no more than 10 members are members of a fraternity or sorority? What is the mean and standard deviation of this distribution? Okay, well, first we need to decide if we're using a binomial distribution or a normal distribution in some way. And the giveaway is always the given information. So the given information here is, on a particular college campus, 20% of the students belong to a fraternity or sorority. So all we're really given to start off with is a percentage. And if we don't have a mean and standard deviation provided, we can't really work any of the normal distribution problems. So this is definitely a binomial. Okay, so now that we know that, there's things that, there's choices we need to make. We have the Binomcdf functions, and we have the Binomcdf function. So we kind of have to choose between those two. Now the Binompdf finds the probability of a single event. So if we want the probability that exactly 10 members are of a fraternity or sorority, something like that, then we'd be using Binompdf. But here, since we have no more, we're definitely going to be using Binomcdf because this does a sum of the first x binomial probabilities. So Binomcdf is obviously what we want to use here. All right, now in order to use it, it takes a few inputs, and so let's jot those down. The inputs are n, p, and x. N is the number of trials. P is the probability of success. And x is the number of successes. And it's always going to add, starting with 0 successes to 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way up to whatever x is. So in this case, we have 50 trials, so n is 50. So let's go ahead and start there. So let's pull up the binomial distribution, Binomcdf function. All right, because we decided we want the cumulative one. N, the number of trials, we have 50 trials of this experiment, because we're asking 50 students if they're members of a fraternity or sorority. The probability that any one of those students is a member is 20% or 0.2. And since we want no more than 10 to be members of a fraternity or sorority, no more than is the same as 10 or fewer. So between 0 and 10. Now the nice thing about the Binomcdf function is it starts counting with 0, and then it goes up to the number provided here. So we want to just put in 10 as the last input, because then it will basically run Binompdf for 0 successes, for 1 success, for 2 success, and so forth, all the way up to 10, and add all those results for us. So the probability here, 0.5836. All right, now mean and standard deviation of a binomial distribution. We have two formulas that help us out there. So the mean of a binomial distribution we find by just doing n times p. So in this case, the mean is just 50 times 0.2, and that should be 10, but let's plug it into the calculator just to be certain here. Yeah, so that's 10, and that's the mean of this distribution. The standard deviation is found by taking the square root of n times p times q. So on the calculator here, we would do the square root of n, which is 50, times p, which is 0.2. And then remember, q is always just 1 minus p. So 0.8 and 2.82 is what we get, or 2.83.